Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for what is actually Gozyuger episode 19. I feel like I've been calling all the last episodes episode 19, but I think I got the numbering right when I'm actually speaking about it. So, this was an interesting episode, as we have the return of Hoeru's friend that we saw in the flashbacks. They call her Miss Mine, I believe the name is, but we saw her in the flashbacks way back in the first episodes, and I mistook her for his mother, or at least, that's, I don't know if we're led to believe that, but that's what I kind of assumed, but it turned out to just be a lady that helped him escape, or not escape, but helped him out when they were in the No.1 world, and I didn't expect this at all. It's probably in the previews. I didn't watch the previews last week, or I don't remember them. I don't always watch the previews, and I haven't been seeing much of the promo images because I kind of stay off Togo Twitter, which is where I usually got the news because Togo Twitter is just awful, but anyway, so I didn't know she was coming, and I was really surprised. Especially since, that was kind of, I don't want to say a big mystery, but kind of an early mystery. And then it seemed like the episode was going to be this fillery feeling episode where they go on this date and all the cast was kind of messing with them and meddling, which was, I guess, mildly amusing. But it just kind of made me think how I don't really feel a huge bond between the characters. And that's kind of a larger issue with the show I want to talk about at the end, but in general, I think there's been some nice little individual character moments, whether it's learning about them by themselves or little moments between two characters, but in general, I don't feel the bond between the cast like I do in other series. Not that they necessarily needed to have that for this story, but it would have felt more endearing, because I've seen Toku series and other series where you have the story about the friends trying to meddle in the date because it's coming from a place of good or good intentions. And I don't know, this just felt kind of weird and annoying. But I was like, why are we bringing this lady back to do a filler storyline? And then over on the side, you have Goju Polar and Ring Hunter fighting, because he's like, oh, I want you to help me with the rings or whatever. And then they start fighting, and you get some hints about the mystery around the Ring Hunter's scar, and also about that maybe he still does care about Hoeru, despite what he did to him later in the episode. And then it ends with them clashing and accidentally swapping rings. I think Hunter has the ninja ring, and then I think it was Geki Ranger that Polar got. So I don't know. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. We're having these two fighting, and then you have this kind of filler plot. And then all of a sudden, after Hunter walks away from it, he ends up shooting the Miss Mine, or whatever her name is, on the beach when they're sitting together when she's about to tell him something. And it turns out he reveals that she actually died a long time ago, and he just reanimated a version of her somehow so that he could do something to Hoeru. He said, I brought her back, but look, you couldn't even protect her or something. So I'm not entirely clear on what his motivations behind bringing her back for him, other than just messing with him. But it was kind of a nice reveal, not in the sense that I was glad to see her shot, but just because I was like, why are we doing this nothing episode with this? I thought this was going to be a major thing. I thought maybe they were going to go to the No.1 world and find her, or she would come back and find him dramatically instead of hey, let's do a fun filler. And it more wound up being kind of a nice moment about Hoeru finding his motivation. I mean, it was kind of undercut because she says to him, look, I felt kind of bad about telling you to never have dreams. That's pretty anti-Toku mentor of me, so let me just tell you to have dreams right now. And that's kind of a nice little moment. I didn't get emotional about it or anything because I'm really not connected to any of these characters, but it was a nice little moment, very quickly undercut by Hoeru acting like an absolute weirdo and chowing down their lunch, including some official certified 90s Pokemon anime, Digimon anime donuts, and just kind of states his motivation crazily and runs off. And Polar's like, that's why he was chosen. And that was just so funny because that's what it feels like with all the weirdo Toku characters, where they just act like a thundering loony. And then people are like, that's why he's leader. I'm like, yep, mentally unstable. But anyway, he then charges into battle, and we get into the fight, and you have some Sentai D-end summons and stuff, and then we get the Megazord fight, and it's Black Daijujin was piloted by his brother all along, and this is kind of used to have the debut of the combined formation, as you do have a little bit of a through line of the dynamic between Hoeru and Polar. And I think it's a little bit about Polar understanding him more, which I think does come across, it comes across having that begrudging respect aspect of the story, or starting to understand, but still kind of jabbing at each other. And I think the nicest scene, though, was at the very end when they're kind of joking around with each other, because when they kind of came together literally, not in that way, you sickos, but in the Megazord, but that also sounds weird, but you know what I mean. It felt kind of forced. It felt like, well, we kind of have to scrap together this storyline about them sort of working together so that we can sell this combination. It just didn't feel that earned. The Mecha combination looks really cool, though. I really like the design of it quite a bit. But yeah, this was a mixed bag of an episode. I mean, I thought it was overall pretty solid. It was pretty eventful in terms of we brought back that lady from the No.1 dimension he was with. We got some momentum a little bit on the Hunter storyline, and we got a new formation debut. It was overall pretty decent compared to some of the more previous light weeks, but I'm just increasingly having a hard time getting invested in the show. Like, I'm really trying to embrace having fun with it, and I do, and there was some fun fights in here too. But it just feels so hollow to me. I don't know if that's me feeling alone in that. I'm sure not everyone's absolutely loving the show because it doesn't. I don't see an outpouring of like love in the comments every week for this. But I know Toku is a toy commercial, but more and more each week it feels almost like a mini series stretched out into 20 minutes where it's just kind of meant to be bullet points to sell these toys. Like, hey, look, they transformed into past Sentai, and here's Zord Builder and stuff like that. I think the Zord Builder element in particular is just making it feel more hollow than usual, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see how I feel by the time the end of the series wraps up. But let me know what you thought on the episode and what are you thinking about the series overall. I might do a video just talking about the state of it at some point, but I might wait a few more weeks. But anyways, guys, until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.